It's San Diego Comic-Con time, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of news coming out of it. I mean, it's a very different con. It's all virtual. The comic industry desperately needs some attention, a little bit of a boost. They need positive momentum, which is why I was so upset with the whole Tom King tweet and all the rest. And there's been a ton of videos kind of condemning Tom King and everything that went on with Jae Lee. I want to use this as a moment to kind of illustrate kind of the negative power of acting before you think. So that's what we're getting into here. Hey everybody, this is Perch. Like I said, there are a lot of videos by fine people out there who have analyzed this whole situation. And in less than 30 seconds, the basics are Jae Lee, about a year ago and change, did a variant cover on commission for Cyberfrog, a book by Ethan Van Sciver, who is also linked to Comicsgate. Comicsgate is, in many people's minds, or some people's minds, however you want to quantify it, a group of either bold independent comic makers or a hateful troll group, and a lot of things in between. So Jae Lee, of course, knows none of this, as he is not active on social media, and he basically took a job from a person he knew, a name as common. It is a good illustration, by the way, of the fact that all this drama we talk about on Twitter about Comicsgate and anti-Comicsgate and canceling and all the rest of this kind of stuff, while it seems like it's omnipresent and everywhere, it goes to show you that if you just don't have Twitter, you don't know any of this. And for a lot of people in comics, meaning fans, buyers, customers, they don't know any of this. They don't have an opinion because they have no idea of what's going on. And that's going to come up later in this video of why that's important. At any rate, some people had been kind of mumbling, whispering about Jae Lee doing this cover. Tom King decides on the day one of San Diego Comic-Con to do a tweet expressing his deep disappointment and making it clear that Jae Lee's cover was not authorized by him and, as far as he was concerned, didn't exist and really had nothing to do with his Rorschach comic, which Jae Lee was commissioned to do the cover of. This led to a flood of defense of Jae Lee and outrage against Jae Lee, with people wanting to aggressively cancel, fire him for his jobs, other creators weighing in say they would never work with Jae Lee, all in the course of hours. This, by the way, is San Diego Comic-Con is trying to get off the ground. So sure enough, several hours later, Jae Lee, some people get to Jae Lee, and he basically has no idea of what's going on or why he's suddenly being targeted and harassed and attacked, or why people are saying he's one of us now. He has no idea what's going on. And as we later learn, he was dealing with a family tragedy of his own. Tom King then goes out later in the day, say, I got in touch with Jae Lee. We're all good. Basically, he hates these hate group people as much as I do, and we're all good. And then people like Mitch Gerards came in and said, man, if only people knew how hard you worked to get in touch with Jae Lee, Tom, and kind of like a lot of patting on the back for Tom King. Well, 2 days later, a little bit less, Jae Lee finally issues a statement saying, we are not all good. My dog, who's a family friend, close member of the family, died, and we were busy kind of dealing with that. And then I start getting calls from employers, people I'm doing projects with, others just asking me why I'm a white supremacist, basically why I'm part of a hate group. And this was off of a tweet that Tom King decided to levy on Friday. So we're not all okay. These things have actual harmful consequences, and he's pissed and he's angry, and rightfully so. Now, we haven't heard more from it, but maybe it's time for, through the midst of all this, Tom King has not actually deleted his tweet. It's just still hanging out there. So that's kind of the background. And now if I could segue away for a moment, I want to talk just briefly about myself. And I just want to lay some cards on the table. Some of you heard this story before. I have a great deal of irritation to the extremists on both sides of the Comicsgate and anti-Comicsgate group. And a lot of that kind of started when, quite a long time ago, Richard Meyer was getting ready to publish Jawbreakers through Antarctic Press. That was a book he was doing. And a handful of comic stores objected, so they would never carry it. Richard Meyer was a hateful person, and all they were very angry with him. In response, initially, Richard Meyer, posts the comic shops that had been leaked to him through the Facebook group that were attacking him. He basically says, here's a comic shop in this city, in this city, in this city, in this city. Except he wasn't accurate. He actually put the wrong city, mainly Bothell, Washington, in his tweet. And why that matters to me is because my shop was in that area. The actual shop that had insulted him and was I now forget the name of it, was in a town called Mill Creek, close to Bothell, but not the same town. And they have been an activist shop. They are now out of business. But regardless of that, when that came out, my shop got somewhere between, I would say, about 100 to 150 Yelp bombs from Comicsgate people who said everything from there is trash on the floor, this store hates people, I was yelled at for wearing a Trump hat, all just invented stuff, nothing that was true. And even to the effect of a store owner said, I don't want your business as a straight white male, get out of here. I mean, just really lies, pure, absolute lies. That caused me a hell of a lot of problem, as well as other shops in the area. I had at least a relationship with a comic shop up in Linwood. That's another town that's very close. They also got bombed. They got phone calls from people saying, why are you against carrying content? Are you against free speech? Are you a commie? I'll never shop at your store again. And these were people who clearly weren't even in the area. But this all goes on. This is something I had to deal with. And so when I hear people today say, oh, Comicsgate doesn't mob people, Comicsgate doesn't go, some people do. All of them? Absolutely not. But some people absolutely do. But wait, the story's not quite over yet. And by the way, as a kind of summary to that, I pointed out, as did several others, and I thank the people who came to my defense there, to Richard Meyer directly, so when he had a Twitter account, saying, hey, you got the wrong shop there, here's the correct shop, you've got the wrong person there. And he corrected it for future posts, but he never went back and actually posted something saying, hey, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't got the wrong guy. That never happened. And even the Twitter account, by the way, of the shop, people went back almost a year to different posts where we were saying things like, hey, we've got a sale going, or 2 for 1, and they would post things like, I will not shop at this bigot shop. I mean, there are a handful of people in Comicsgate, like it or not, who just go all the way back and just start harassing you. That's a true thing. And every now and then I do these videos, people's like, well, where's the proof? The proof is right there. You can see it on Twitter. You're lying if you say this doesn't go on. Now, again, I want to stress, not everybody, maybe not even most, but there are a handful of people who obsessively do this. And I've been told for other people, well, those people aren't true Comicsgate. Maybe not. Who knows? They use the tag they claim to be, so it is. That's fine, but there you go. There's a problem. But again, before one side gets too angry and starts patting each other on the back or whatever it happens to be, now I want to fast forward about 2 months later. I don't know, and change. I'm not exactly sure of the time frame, actually, to be clear. Zach does a crowdfunding approach for Jawbreakers and makes a pretty, for the time, a very large sum of money. As an independent, somebody who was not in comics and had a name to go off of, I think it was one of the highest, if not the highest, fundraisings that happened with his comic. I posted one tweet, which basically said, hey, whether you like him or don't like him, it is an accomplishment to make that amount of money. And, this is an optimistic, thing for a lot of comic creators to see that this kind of money can be in the space. I stand by that statement today. I think if you're an independent comic creator and, this should give you, regardless of what you think of the guy, the comic, any of that, the video channel, anything, it should give you some optimism to say, hey, there are people who will spend money in comics, and this should be a good sign for us that we can do business. That is the absolute takeaway that you should have. However, I don't want to say equal number, but a very large number of people came in and said, so you're a Nazi for supporting him. So why do you support a hate group? Why are you, you are a white supremacist? All the names came out immediately. Now, these tweets are also still up. You can go search a bunch of them. Many of these accounts have been discarded. I think the account SJW Spider-Man picked at it and retweeted it, saying, you're a hateful person, and you can never compliment. I mean, just really went after him. And then, in irony of all ironies, once again, I started getting these messages in public in Twitter saying, of people trying to guess where my shop was. Are you Comic Stop in Redmond? Is that who you are at this address? And it was creepy. And I had a friend who actually works at and owns Comic Stop at that shop. I'm not sure if with the pandemic it's still there. I actually should go check it out. Anyway, they said the guy, he's like, hey, I started getting calls asking me if I was this poo guy on Twitter who was and that I better watch myself. Just creepy calls. And once again, a bunch of shops in the area started getting Yelp reviews. Now, hilariously, if they just scroll down like 3 weeks, they see Yelp reviews for the exact opposite. But now we see that these people cater to white supremacists. You scroll down like 2 months, and you see people saying these people won't serve Trump supporters. So it's like people are all nuts. I say all this for one reason. First of all, to give you a little bit of background of why I'm get pissy in a lot of cases, maybe that's the best word, about these two sides and their outrage and their anger and their smears against each other, and also their blindness to sometimes what happens within their space. Now, again, it's not right, 100% not right, to label anyone with a slur, whether it's racial, it's sexual, it's things like Nazi, or those words have meaning, and you should not throw them out like that. It's wrong. It was wrong for Tom King to do this on the day of Comic-Con, to basically shoot a torpedo in his own company and the industry. And it was also wrong for Bleeding Cool and Newsarama, especially Newsarama. I mean, it's severely disappointing Chris Arant and those guys who, for whatever reason, thought this was worthy of a front page article on Comic-Con that Tom King is upset with Jae Lee. It was wrong for them to do that. That's muckraking and gossip and wrong. The news groups could have easily just said, you know what? We're not going to cover this drama. It's wrong to cover this drama. Bleeding Cool patted itself aggressively on the back over the last several weeks about saying, our editor-in-chief won't let us run stories about the sexual allegations until they're double proven and we've talked to the victim and everything else. Except they have no problem running these kind of smear articles by Tom King without any fact-checking. And Bleeding Cool, I mean, I'll hand them to this. Bleeding Cool at least updated their article that day saying, hey, it turns out Jae Lee had no idea what was going on. Newsarama, got around to it about a day later. And again, then you read Jae Lee's statement of like, hey, I was dealing with the death of a family friend, in this case, a dog I had for a long time, and people are calling me up, threatening my livelihood, my job. Keep in mind, Tom King has a pretty solid, dedicated writing job at DC. He has a tie-in to the movie business at Warner, where he's doing scripts. He's very well set as an individual. And if we really want to dig back a couple weeks ago, there were a few pokes at Tom King stating that maybe he wasn't the fairest guy with some of the, the women who worked in the Batman office. So maybe that's what drives some of this. I don't know. All I'm saying is if you're a guy with a dedicated job, plenty of security, that position, not only do you have a responsibility to try and do net good and not call out a coworker who, by the way, is a freelancer who does not have anywhere close to the job security you have, and basically, label a kind of white supremacy angle on them. That's terrible. And so this casual tweet of, oh yeah, we're all good. Delete your tweet, Tom. Actually apologize, Tom. That's what you should do. And that's what your employer should be, quite frankly, telling you have to do as they review your future employment. Now, people are making this a lot about Tom King, and because there's a lot of baggage with Tom King that gets thrown into this. But taking a step back, and the reason I went through my story is that these things have very bad consequences to people. Gossip and inaccuracies and other things. And if you're going to do that, you need to be careful. And there's been times when I haven't been accurate enough, I've gone back, I've deleted and replaced the video. I've changed that. I will aggressively go to that because I do not want anybody to experience the kind of shit that I had to experience because it sucked. And that is, I give you my perspective because that's why when people come back to me and say, oh, you can't prove that my organization is, whether either side. That's why. That's why I get frustrated with that stuff. There's that old slogan. I said this in a video a long time ago. I think was it back during the Charlottesville marches. Trump said I think frankly very stupid. There are good people on all sides. I think that was definitely the wrong statement to make. But here's a better one. There are bad people on all sides, and we have to start separating the platform from the bad people. And those are two separate things in most cases. If you are a comic professional, that is your platform, that's your industry, that's where you work. That's a good thing. It should be protected. We should not be trying to burn it down, ruin all the companies, take people out. That cancel culture bullshit is bad for everyone, and it eventually comes back and stings you. But the behavior of people, the individuals on top of that platform, absolutely must be corrected at times. And in terms of whether it's people on the outside, toxic fans, Comicsgate, whatever it is, it's time to start looking at action by action. And if that sounds like too much work for you, then you're probably in the wrong position. Because the second you stop looking at people as individuals with individual actions, then you're just making blanket statements. You are the definition of a hate group at that point. Labeling somebody with one label and just generalizing that way is bigotry, is racism, is a lot of those pieces. That's a wrong way to go about anything. I think that this whole situation is to quote Barack Obama, it's a teachable moment. It's a teachable moment of, hey, Tom King, here's something you could have done. Get in touch with Jae Lee and talk it out ahead of time. Here's something else you could have done. You could have handled this, not sneakily behind the scenes getting him fired, but reach out. You've got a lot of colleagues who know Jae Lee, who interact with him. Talk to Mitch Gerards. Talk to some of these other people who have common and say, hey, what's going on here? I'm concerned about this. It's fair. It's fair for you to ask around. What's not fair is to jump the gun and do this and screw up somebody's life. And especially somebody who was, frankly, mourning the death of their dog. And to some of you may go, it's a pet, who cares? Or, that's not like a family member. I mean, everybody has different personal choices they want to make. It's your life. Everybody has their own life. Everybody has their own thing that matters to them. And so to have this nonsense interfere into their personal life, which was completely avoidable, is wrong. Now, I have absolutely no doubt that some people listening to this are going to immediately downvote because I did not describe Comicsgate in the absolute perfect blissful tones. And I have no doubt that people will downvote this because I said we should look at individuals and not just immediately label that whole group a hate group. You know what? I don't give a shit. We're all supposed to be grown-ups in theory. We're supposed to love this hobby. This is silly. It's a silly trap. It's all about personal attention. It's about maybe trying to protect your own back from having that anger and fury come at you. I don't know the motivations for why Tom King decided to wake up on Friday and do this. But this stuff, you can see it all play out. And in terms of winners and losers here, who's the winner? Well, whether it's intentional or not, Ethan Van Sciver made more money off of Cyberprog as a result of this. It entrenched more people to want to support him. That's probably one clear result. Losers in this? I mean, Jae Lee for sure, who had an emotional moment and just some reflection time with his family interrupted by a bunch of nonsense. Tom King, who knows? Maybe this buys him a little bit of time from an outrage mob coming after him for things he's done in his past. In that case, I guess he wins. Or maybe behind the scenes, some people at DC are saying, hey, we gotta stop this. In which case, the people who merchant and profit off this are in trouble. And maybe for everyone else, creators, fans, everyone, this is a win because maybe this nonsense will start to come to an end. Comics are in bad shape. We had a pause. We had this pandemic. Shops are struggling. We're trying to get news out. We want creators to pick up pencils and get work. I do. I'm not one of those dumb assholes who's, gleeful and giddy because they said pencils down. I feel bad for those people who don't have work. They need work. I want them to get a job. I want them to get a paycheck. Stuff like this does not help. It absolutely does not. The other winner, I guess, are all the people who are not on Twitter and social media who avoided all of this. That's a win too. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. I think, like I said, there are lots of other videos going into the details about Tom King and a lot more about this. I think the moment to look at here is this is what happens when you have people who are, feel very empowered to just throw accusations around, either because they don't have enough data or because they actually have an agenda. And these are the consequences that happen, the ripple effects that happen from all this. It's wrong. So that's my opinion anyway. What's yours? Leave me a comment below. It's a tough, complex topic, and if you'd like, I can certainly we can get live on this next Friday and talk about it in real time. Probably be a better way than to go through the chat comments, but I'm happy to hear it. I think there are definitely some bad actors in all this who are gleeful and delight in the chaos it creates. But that's not me. And if you love comics, that shouldn't be you. Thanks for listening.